The Shawshank Redemption was written by Stephen King. It is a novella that was first published in 1982 as part of a collection called Different Seasons. The story is set in the fictional Shawshank State Prison and follows the life of a man named Andy Dufresne, who is sentenced to prison for life for a crime he says he did not commit. The book is known for its themes of hope, friendship, and perseverance, and it was later adapted into a famous movie in 1994. The story begins in 1947 when Andy Dufresne, a successful banker, is convicted of murdering his wife and her lover. The evidence against him is strong, and the court finds him guilty. As a result, he is sent to Shawshank Prison to spend the rest of his life behind bars. When he arrives at Shawshank, he is quiet and reserved, keeping to himself while he observes the prison and its harsh rules. At first, life in Shawshank is very difficult for Andy. The prison is a violent place, and he becomes a target for a group of inmates known as the Sisters, who abuse and attack weaker prisoners. Andy endures this cruelty for several years but never gives up. He remains calm and does not let the harsh prison life break him. Over time, Andy befriends Ellis "Red" Redding, a longtime inmate who is known for being able to get things from the outside world. Red has been in Shawshank for many years and understands how things work inside the prison. Andy asks Red for a small rock hammer, saying he enjoys carving stones as a hobby. Later, he also asks for a poster of a famous actress, which he uses to cover the wall of his cell. Andy's intelligence and skills soon get him noticed. He uses his financial knowledge to help the guards with their taxes and eventually gains the trust of the prison warden, Samuel Norton. The warden is a corrupt man who takes advantage of Andy's skills to launder money. Andy helps the warden create a false identity under the name Randall Stevens to hide the illegal profits. In exchange for his help, Andy receives protection from the guards and better treatment inside the prison. As the years go by, Andy becomes a respected figure in Shawshank. He is allowed to work in the prison library, and he turns it into one of the best prison libraries in the state. He writes letters to the government every week, requesting donations for books and supplies. At first, his requests are ignored, but after many years, the government finally sends books and money. Andy's patience and determination help improve the education of many inmates, giving them hope for a better future. One day, a new inmate named Tommy Williams arrives at Shawshank. He is a young man with a history of petty crimes, and Andy helps him prepare for his high school equivalency test. Tommy eventually tells Andy and Red a shocking story. He says that while he was in another prison, he met a man who claimed to have killed a banker's wife and her lover. This man had laughed about the crime, saying that the police had arrested the wrong person. Andy realizes that this man is the true murderer and that Tommy's story proves his innocence. Excited by the possibility of freedom, Andy goes to the warden and asks him to reopen his case. However, the warden refuses. He knows that if Andy is released, he will lose the person who helps him hide his illegal money. Instead of helping, the warden punishes Andy by sending him to solitary confinement for 2 months. After that, he has Tommy transferred to another prison to make sure he never testifies about what he knows. After Andy is released from solitary, he seems different. He tells Red that if he ever gets out of Shawshank, he should go to a place in the countryside where Andy once hid something important. Red does not understand why Andy is saying this, but he listens carefully. Andy also talks about a small Mexican town called Zihuatanejo, saying that he dreams of living there someday. That night, something unusual happens. In the morning, the guards find Andy's cell empty. He has disappeared without a trace. The warden and the guards are shocked and confused. They search the cell but cannot figure out how he escaped. Then, the warden rips down the poster on Andy's wall and discovers a hole behind it. It turns out that Andy has spent nearly 20 years slowly digging a tunnel through the wall of his cell using the small rock hammer Red gave him. Every day he chipped away at the concrete, hiding the loose pieces of rock in his pockets and dropping them in the prison yard. The hole was covered by different posters over the years, making sure no one noticed. On the night of his escape, he crawled through the tunnel, and broke into the prison's sewage pipe. He then crawled through hundreds of yards of filthy water and finally emerged outside the prison fence, free at last. Andy had carefully planned his escape. Before leaving, he switched the warden's illegal money records to his own fake identity, Randall Stevens. Once he was free, he went to the bank and withdrew all the money that had been hidden under that name. Then, he disappeared, heading to Zihuatanejo to start a new life. After Andy's escape, the prison is thrown into chaos. The warden is exposed for his corruption, and when the police come to arrest him, he kills himself to avoid facing justice. The other corrupt guards are arrested, and the prison's illegal activities are revealed to the public. Red, still in Shawshank, is both happy and sad. He misses his friend but is also inspired by Andy's courage. Eventually, after many years, Red is granted parole. He is released into the outside world, which feels strange and unfamiliar to him after spending so much time in prison. Remembering Andy's words, he travels to the place Andy had mentioned in the countryside. There, he finds a box buried under a tree. Inside the box is money and a letter from Andy, inviting him to join him in Zihuatanejo. With new hope, Red decides to break his parole and follow his friend. The story ends with him on a bus, heading toward Mexico, believing that after so many years of imprisonment, he might finally be free. The Shawshank Redemption is a story about patience, intelligence, and never giving up hope. Even though Andy faced terrible injustice, he never lost his spirit. Through careful planning and determination, he managed to escape and reclaim his life. His friendship with Red is also an important part of the story, showing that even in the darkest places, true friendship and hope can survive. The story is not just about escaping prison. It is about believing in a better future, no matter how difficult the situation may seem.